Welcome to another episode of Simon Says, where facts come first. I'm your host, Jenny Simon. Grab your popcorn, grab your drink, your sandwiches, whatever it is. The kids, call your friend, call your granny, call your nanny. Let everybody know that Simon Says is about to begin. Buckle your seatbelts. We'll take a quick break and come right back. Thank you for tuning in to Simon Says. To ensure that you never miss an episode, click subscribe and make sure to turn on the notifications by clicking on the notification bell icon. See you at the next episode. Welcome back. Welcome back. So, we have some updates for you before we get into the meat of the matter. And we're going to start with the Montrouge update, Montrouge Stretch Roads update. So they've cut. They're listening. They're listening. So they've cut the trees that was growing out of the drain, just the top of the trees, really, because you can see the rest of the sticking out. And if you look on your screen, you'll see what they left. They left the silt, mud, whatever you want to call it. That's there. The dirty, nasty looking water. That's there as well, just waiting for some raindrops to fall and to flood the whole area. Also, the nice new concrete road without the drain. Remember, I told you all, it doesn't have a drain. They slope it, and that's it. So, as soon as rainfall, that floods. And it happened yesterday, and I'm sure all now it's well flooded because the rain continues to fall. So, we're getting somewhere. We asked them to come back and clean the drains, actually dig out. We've yet to see the bottom of the drains. So we want to see the drain, dig out the silt and the mud, and finish up the thing. Give us a nice little job there. The Integrity Commission. I have a concern. You guys know I have 3 complaints in there, and as we speak, there's no commission. The Integrity Commission was dissolved at the end of May. I think that's the term for the persons that are in office then, or the commissioners. That's the end of their term, and I guess you have to either reinstate them or get new persons or whatever. So we are hoping that that's done speedily and that it doesn't take forever for them to bring in a new commission one way or the other. But I'm a little bit concerned about that. I also I am preparing something for the FIU. We know it's not the same FIU, but to go on record, I have something being prepared for that. I am a little disappointed, a lot disappointed. I was looking forward to the weekly press conferences that was supposed to be hosted every Wednesday. And quite enjoyed the last one, if I must say so myself. But yesterday we had nothing. There was no release out to say whether or not it was coming. It just didn't come. We just did not have a press conference. So let's see what happens next week. Well, yours truly had what I would call a great week, a great 8 days. In fact, Wednesday to Wednesday, yeah, it was. I made front page of the New Today, Minister versus Imposter, and and let me again tell you who is an imposter. An imposter is someone who pretends to be someone else, often to deceive or gain an advantage. Today, I can report to you that I have Attorney Chambers Hood and Hood on retainer regarding that matter. A letter was written before action to the editor of the newspaper, which I will share with you. Oh, my glasses here. And it comes from Hood and Hood, attorney at law, and dated June the 11th, 2025. The editor, the New Today newspaper, box 1970, St. George's. Dear Sir, Madam, read the matter of the defamation of Miss Jennifer Simon. We have been retained by our client, Miss Simon, with respect to the contents of an article which prominently appears on the front of the New Today newspaper, volume 17, number 30, for the week ending Friday, June the 6th, 2025. The article, the New Today newspaper, is published online over the World Wide Web and thus has an unlimited viewership. The article entitled Minister versus Imposter, with the title stretched across the entirety of the newspaper's breadth, and the picture of Minister Andy Williams, named and identified directly, placed under the word minister, and the picture of our client, named and identified directly, placed under the word imposter. In the premises, the article leaves no doubt in the mind of the average person as to which minister is being referred to, while also clearly declaring that our client is being forthrightly labeled as an imposter. In its ordinary English language usage, the word imposter conveys a meaning which contains three distinct main elements: that of pretense, deception, and fraudulent gain. These elements are clearly set out in the words of the article, affirming that our client has no training in journalism, has not educated herself in journalism, was trained as a hairdresser. Thus, our client is pretending to be a journalist. Our client is pursuing a course of deception in that, while pretending to be a journalist who publishes facts, she is actuated by political motives. 3, our client fraudulently stands to gain by payment to the tune of $4,000 per month by a senior member of the NNP, which is seeking to regain power. No person from your paper has reached out to our client in an attempt to verify the statements of fact or allegations published in the article. The publication has caused severe damage to the character and reputation of our client, has been calculated to, and has actually brought her into odium and contempt in the minds of right-thinking persons in the local and worldwide community, and has affected and is likely to affect the viewership of her online program entitled Simon Says. In the above premise, the content of the article in their ordinary and innuendo meaning are wholly untrue and constitute an ingratious defamation against our client. Our client demands as follows. 1, your newspaper publishes a retraction of the article in its very next issue after your receipt of this letter in the same manner as the article was published. 2, your newspaper publishes an apology in terms to be approved by our office on behalf of our client in its very next issue after your receipt of this letter in the same manner as the article was published. Your newspaper gives an undertaking forthwith to restrain from publication of the defamatory content of the article. Your newspaper fully pays forthwith the cost of the written retainer between our office and our client that has been occasioned by the article, and to discuss payment for damages suffered by our client occasioned by the article. Please be advised that our client reserves the entirety of her legal rights in this matter, and that we have instructions to seek legal recourse after 21 days after your receipt of this letter without delay or further warning if you choose to refuse to comply with the demands contained herein above. Sincerely. So as I said, yours truly was a topic for the week, and really I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. I feel like a prime minister, actually. Evening news, talk shows. I mean, a panel of 4, including the host, to discuss me last evening on Right Along, right? With an advisor to the government, the CTO, and a long-standing public servant, a former permanent secretary and former chief of staff, although he took it himself, he gave himself that name. No, Mr. Rodney George, who is the advisor to the government on energy, let us know last evening that he constructed the contract for the Cliff Road project. Mr. Rodney George are friends with the contractor that got the contract, Mr. Nelson Louison. Conflict of interest, nepotism. I mean, they just keep putting their foot further down their throats. And as advisor, our advisors, the ones who create contracts for the ministries. We have CTOs, we have engineers, we have permanent secretaries in there. But all of a sudden, Mr. Rodney George is the one who boldly said he constructed the contract, and there is no way that Andy Williams could have had anything to do with the contract. My thing is, this is not about a contract. 20 contracts could sign. They gave all kind of explanation as to what happens when you tender contract, procurement, everything. That has nothing to do with a bribe, because a bribe is not in the open. It's a bribe. It's under the table, right? And I hear about the $115,000 is nowhere in files in the ministry. And there are NDC persons under that post liking and sharing $115,000 from inside. They were told there's nothing so or no files. Who is filing a bribe? Who is filing a bribe in a ministry, right? So you know that our ex-public servant and former PS, who was Tillman's chief of staff, William Joseph, and one of our many eat of food so-called advisors to the government, Rodney George, actually tried to hoodwink the people by trying to make you believe that because of the many red tapes that should be placed, and pay attention to the word should take place in order to get a contract, that it's impossible for Andy Williams to take a bribe. Rodney George said he prepared the contract. I have a question for Mr. George. I have a question for Mr. George. Is it normal for an advisor to prepare a contract, and to make bad matters worse, the winner of the contract is your friend and buddy? We all know that with this NDC administration, nothing goes by the book. Nothing goes by law. In fact, this administration has broken their own laws. Of this, they break the law of the land, the most supreme law of the land, our constitution. I mean, at one point, I even said, I believe they don't use the constitution at all anymore, right? Laws they passed in parliament, they've gone against it. It was their own Orlando Romaine who explained to us what nation builders is all about. Listen to the clip.
The government of Grenada, through the Ministry of Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation, has launched the Nation Builders Project, which will help to improve the lives of people in need. Through government partnership with the private sector and non-governmental organizations, the project seeks to enhance community engagement by addressing the bureaucratic obstacles that hinder advancement.
If I want to build a playground, instead of going to the ministry, and in some instances, I mean, not with this government, but previous governments, they get around, you get frustrated and you just withdraw your services. There's an entity now that will facilitate that process for you to ensure that your projects are heard, recognized, and that we channel it to the right ministry or agency for fast implementation. Nation Builders would also seek to collaborate with the private sector. So for example, I may have an idea for a playground, I have $10,000, but I need another $20,000 to make the program a reality. Through Nation Builders, we will facilitate the pooling of resources by collaborating with the private sector, collaborating with other citizens to ensure the effective execution of those projects. So essentially, Nation Builders is a facilitator for citizens' involvement in the building of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique.
So all this long story we were told by those gentlemen yesterday about procurement and pastor who went to finance, they don't even know that it's, well, they may know, but they pretend to know that it's no longer in effect. They changed the procurement laws on arrival so that they don't have to show receipts for any contract under $100,000. And therefore, they can give somebody a contract for $5,000, but 4 different contracts, right? 100,000, 100,000, right? You see what Rodney George and William Joseph and the CTO, Young Blash, tried to do was to cover for the politicians. Tried to cover the politicians. And not so much Andy Williams, but the Prime Minister and the Minister for Infrastructure. Because everything I said is factual. Everything I said is factual. Andy Williams bullied the PS into signing the contract. Andy Williams, as acting Minister for Infrastructure and acting Prime Minister, who has the right he's in charge. He can override anything and do anything, the Prime Minister. He was acting as Prime Minister. So when I hear they say a minister cannot influence a contract, that was laughable. That was laughable. So he signed off on the contract hurriedly. And as I said, signing a contract and signing off on a contract is two totally different things. Signing off is using your authority. You say, okay, all is good, let's roll. I want you to sign this. You sign it, let's go. All is good. Andy Williams ordered the road closure, the roadblock signs. You all remember, sometime during the day, on that day, you passed the morning and the road was open, and you go during the day and it was closed, and everybody was like, just so? We were not told by the Minister of Infrastructure, the Prime Minister, what was going to happen because he was dragging his foot on signing off with the CCCI. All because he took a bribe, that is Andy Williams, of $115,000 in exchange for the Cliff Road project contract. I don't know how much clearer I must say this. Now, a bribe must involve two parties. Why isn't it the other party defending himself? Why didn't Right Along bring on the contractor Nelson Louison, the friend of Rodney George? Why didn't he bring him on the program? They all know, and they are all trying to cover up. It's too late. It's too late. The horse is already out the stable. They could have and should have taken care of that months ago. I begged weekly for the Prime Minister to do something about it. It's too late. Someone sent me a snapshot, as I said, of this post that says, an inside source say there is no evidence of files showing where Andy Williams signed the 115,000 contract Jenny alleged he did. I never alleged he signed a contract for the bribery. What I said is he signs off on the contract, CCC, CI, or whatever their name is right now. Who would sign a bribery contract and upload it on a file in a ministry? A bribe is a crime. A bribe is a crime. And that is why Andy Williams is not saying, yes, I did it, because he knows it's a crime. Right? I don't expect him to say, yes, I did it. But I will continue to talk about it. I've wasted enough time on these people and time on nonsense, really. And I've wasted your time, the people's time, you know. But before I move on, there are three things that stuck with me that these two grown men, and there's something else I want to say, but I can't say it because a lot of young kids look at the program. But I'll just leave it as grown men, right? Went on the program to talk about me, yours truly, and what I say, because they could do what they want. That's what it was about, trying to defend the party and the politicians. No, they said that the permanent secretaries do not take instructions from the minister. That's laughable. It's a joke. I don't know if they don't know or if they're just trying to be funny. Because that's who the permanent secretaries are in charge of the ministries. But the only person that instructs the permanent secretaries are the politicians, right? They said that the prime minister don't get involved, the prime minister and ministers do not get involved in giving out contracts. Oh my God. I can tell you of someone who got a call from Andy Williams, a St. David's contractor, calling him on behalf of the prime minister. And I remember saying to him, these guys are not even aware of what they're doing. Because even if Andy had to call you, he should have never mentioned that he's calling on behalf of the prime minister, right? I believe I spoke about it here on my program as well when it happened. So that, another abortion. And that the minister or any minister cannot sign a contract or sign off, rather, on a contract behind another one's back. In other words, they're trying to say, because I said the prime minister was away, which he was, and I have proof of that, and we could find, anybody could find that he was away in April, coming to the end of April. And because I said Andy Williams, as the minister acting Minister of Infrastructure, signed off on the contract behind the Prime Minister's back. Well, of course, the Prime Minister's back was in the clouds, right? And he was in charge. He was acting Prime Minister, right? So that's the reason for saying nobody could sign up. A set of crap, two grown men in their 70s, both in their 70s, thought it was prudent for them to go on right along to try and dispel what I said about Andy taking a bribe. How would you know if you take a bribe? I mean, by now they know because, as I said, Denzel Lewis and Rodney George are friends, right? Bribe is between two people. So it's any one of them or both of them can sue me, can sue me. So as I go, I'll leave with you a clip that was sent to me this morning because this is not just about Jenny, Andy Williams, Ministry of Infrastructure, the Prime Minister, and those two clowns that was on right along. It's about the people and whom we have representing us. And so when other people come in with their own narrative on what's going on, I just want to share some of it with you.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you all are doing well. And please remember to subscribe if you like the content. Now, I took a look at the ride-along show today, and it was pretty interesting. It was headlined, "I know the contract, and I prepared it, and Andy did not sign it." Now, the whole aim of the show seemed to be to discredit what Miss Jenny Simon had said about possible bribery and impropriety by Minister Andy Williams. There were a few gentlemen on the show tonight. One, Mr. Willie Joseph, who probably has at least 40 years of experience in public service, and Mr. Rodney George, who is supposed to be an advisor in the Ministry of Infrastructure, and of course the Chief Technical Officer, Mr. Blash. The whole premise of the show seems to be that because of the existence of certain procedures and structures in place when it comes to tendering of bids and procurement of jobs, that it was nearly impossible for Mr. Andy Williams to be bribed. They seem to suggest that because Mr. Andy Williams did not sign the contract physically, that it's nearly impossible for him to be bribed. They also seem to suggest, because of those very procedures, that Mr. Andy Williams, even if he was acting in capacity as being in charge of the Ministry of Infrastructure at certain times, whether it be temporary or not, that he does not have any pull or influence over what the permanent secretary does. Now, we must understand, first and foremost, that the ministers are actually overseers, directors of policy, and are basically in charge of these specific portfolios in the government. So to say that they do not have any influence in what is taking place is actually untrue. It is like saying that a CEO of a company does not influence a company because he may not do the day-to-day activities of signing that subordinates may do. Ultimately, he can influence what happens in the company. So that dispels that myth that they were trying to promote on the Ride Along show. I was a little disappointed in Mr. Willie Joseph, especially a man who has decades of experience in the public service. And I'm sure Mr. Rodney George seems to have a lot of experience in what he does. I could forgive Mr. Blash. He's a little young, but these two gentlemen, to try to mislead, to try to give credence to what was being said on the show, is an abomination. To try to insult the intelligence of Grenadian people is just wrong, totally wrong. I don't believe that the gentlemen realize what sort of argument that they're putting forward. Because if they say, because of the existence of certain procedures and protocols in place, that Minister Andy Williams could not have been bribed or could not have engaged in any impropriety, well, this means that any allegations that has ever been leveled at any administration, whether it be the NDC administration or the NNP administration or the PRG administration or whoever, is null and void. Because, of course, there are procedures and there are protocols in place, so nobody in government can be bribed. It means that no government throughout the Caribbean and no minister throughout the Caribbean can be bribed. Because guess what? They all have procedures and protocols in place, so it's impossible to bribe these people. If you really look at it, it's a bunch of nonsense and a bunch of hogwash.
You've heard the gentleman. I don't believe he have any horse in the race. I've just seen him on podcasts. He don't live in Grenada, but he's a Grenadian and he follows the politics in Grenada. And that's what it is. Hogwash. These two old men went on ride along and was explaining the whole bureaucracy of the public service, right? To say that Andy could not have taken a bribe. I could look them in their face. I could look you in the camera and Andy, if he's watching, amongst whoever else, to say that Andy Williams took a bribe for $115,000 in exchange for the contract of the Cliff Road project. You know, one of the things that came out of it also was that, it's only the Ministry of Finance that signs checks and that clears checks or something to the effect. I gave you guys a whole episode, and I'm going to repeat it, where Andy Williams in the Ministry of MIT, well, his ministry, I should say, Andy Williams's ministry, the Ministry of MIT, calls contractors, calls service providers to their office, come down with your ID, gives them checks in their names. Sometimes depends on the amount. They're allowed to go to the bank by themselves and bring back the cash to the ministry. If it's a lot, someone accompanies them from the ministry to the bank, collects the cash from them when they clear it, and brings and take it back to the ministry. You telling me about Ministry of Finance? These guys don't go by laws, and they said it. They say it's different. They're running things differently. They've said it. And I'm paraphrasing here. The Prime Minister was away. Let's just end up this thing. The Prime Minister was away. Andy Williams was acting as Prime Minister and Minister of Infrastructure in an arrangement with Nelson Louison to purchase his house in Mount Parnassus that the Development Bank gave it back to him. Part of his collateral, they gave it back, not collateral, but his security. They gave him back all of it. He sold it to Nelson Louison, got the 115,000 worth of cash in kind. As for the bribery, right? And is that? It's not normal times. We know that with the NDC administration. Nobody pays attention. Everybody turns a blind eye so that the other can do what they want to do with corruption and fraud, with theft, right? I know that it's happening. I've brought it to you. I've spoken to persons it's happened to. And I'm just waiting for the court case. Moving along, an update on the CBI. The Grenada Citizenship by Investment has been dogged by scandals lately, leading to suspension of agents under the program. First was the Heng Shen Group, and just when their suspension was lifted by Circular Number 6 of 2025, dated on the 4th of June 2025, by Circular Number 7 of 2025, dated the 6th of June 2025, local agent Colin Bishop, managing director of Reef View Enterprise, was suspended. I did kind of read some of that for you last week in an effort of time. I'm not going to go back through that. Like Heng Chen Group, Colin Bishop was suspended according to the letters by the IMA Grenada under the Grenada Citizenship by Investment Committee. The letters signed by the Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Thomas Anthony. The letters quoted that the proceedings have been initiated under Section 4.6 of the Citizen by Investment Act 2013. Now this, I have to read to you the act, right? I've just been telling you about this administration and the way they don't abide by the laws and the acts and the legislations of this country. Now, Section 6, what it was, Section 4.6, right? Section 4.6, the minister may, and listen to this, you heard me, right? The minister may revoke the license of any agent granted a license pursuant to the provisions of this act if he reasonably believes that the agent's performance does not meet the required standard, in particular, if the ability, resources, experience, or integrity of the agent has fallen below the standard that might reasonably be expected. B, if the fee specified by the regulations remains unpaid for 14 days after it has become due. All of these, Mr. Colin Bishop are guilty of. And C, the requirements of subsection 3 have not been complied with. Section 7, before revoking any license under submission 6, the minister shall, and you remember what I said about shall in law, it's compulsory. The minister shall give the agent concerned notice in writing, served at the registered office of the other local address provided pursuant to Section 3 thereof, of his or her intention to do so, specifying therein the grounds upon which he or she proposes to make revocation, and shall require the agent to submit to him or her within the specified period, being not less than 30 days, a written statement of objections to the making of the provocation, and thereafter the minister shall advise the agent of his or her decision. Now, the minister here that we're speaking of is, again, the Prime Minister of Grenada. He is the minister responsible for the CBI program. And that, my friend, is the act of the CBI program, right? That is it. And they don't follow it. Look at what. So they have the managing director or CEO, Mr. Thomas, is who signing these letters. As a matter of fact, the act speaks nothing of suspension. The act speaks of revocation. Revocation. Nothing about suspension. And that has to be done by the minister. And that is the Grenada Citizenship by Investment 2013, Act 15, 135. Act number 15 of 2013. It's law. It's law. Okay? So, as I said earlier on, they don't go by law and they know it. All this cockamamie story, Rodney George and Willie Joseph came on program with their hogwash. Hogwash. The CBI committee does not have the power to suspend anyone. Any agent, as you heard by the law, doesn't even allow for suspension, but revocation. And it has to be done by the minister. Moving along. Deacon Mitchell is the one who's supposed to revoke the gentleman Colin Bishop. But of course, Colin Bishop is his buddy. Colin Bishop is his friend. Colin Bishop does hang out with him up the islands, right? Fly in the RSS plane and charter flights and all the big boys games, the big boy games, right? That is why, in the case of Kawanabe, the committee could not take against Kawanabe. They could have audited, which they did. They reviewed and they advised the minister, the then minister, the Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Mitchell, then. He made the final decision on Kawanabe. He made the final decision on Kawanabe. The committee responsibilities are very limited. Approve applications, etc. They are shielding the Prime Minister, Deacon Mitchell. I mean, they've been doing it. Right? That's one of the things Lacroix got in trouble for. He refused to shield the Prime Minister. You see, 99% of Grenadians are unaware of these acts. A lot of stuff concerning the public service. Really unaware. Now, with more people are following with social media and so trying to follow, right? And so they can tell us anything, they can do anything. The Prime Minister, who always says he's a lawyer, he knows better than that. But if they don't know, you can fool them, right? And that is what they've been doing. That is what they're trying to get me off air for. Because I get it every day from local and from abroad. People meet me, people call me, people message me and say, thank you for informing us. We would have never known if it wasn't for you. Thank you. And it is showing in the diaspora especially. People are not following blindly anymore. Well, yeah, people are seeing. So, and a lot of them had fallen off the wagon, right? They continue to hoodwink the nation. An administration of deception and trickery. Here is Colin Bishop boasting of his successes as a CBI agent.
Licensed local agents under the Grenada Citizenship by Investment Program have welcomed the Caribbean Investment Summit that brought into one space CBI agents and stakeholders from the Caribbean, Middle East, Eastern Europe, USA, and Canada who are involved. The summit created a platform to share and discuss issues that arise in the execution of the program in St. Kitts, Dominica, Antigua and Barbuda, St. Lucia and Grenada, along with solutions and best practices. Colin Bishop, founder of Reef View Enterprises, one of the Grenada's premier CBI licensed agents, says it is happening at a time when there is heavy scrutiny of the program. This, he says, will give stakeholders and agents the opportunity to rethink and revisit the processes used in the various programs.
It is actually a remarkable event, and I have to give the organizers praise for pulling it off. We've seen here a lot of international agents, major players. In this time of scrutiny on the program, it's important for us to come together and charter the way forward in a transparent way, getting all stakeholders' views and concerns and making the right choices so that we can continue going on with this field that has been necessary for our economy at this point. We're very involved. We process the most clients that has ever been processed by one agent. During the Russian surge that we had, I processed 90% of the files, and that gave me a lot of experience I went into also having a translation company to translate the Russian to English, and it has been a very intense 3 years for review. But we have, yes, very deep into this. And we also sell other islands such as St. Lucia, Dominica, and the idea is to represent the Caribbean.
He's proud. I have 2 questions. Did Colin Bishop act alone? Did he have help? Some of the things he's accused of, he must have had other people. It must have been a ring, in my opinion, right? Secondly, where is Colin Bishop? Where is Colin Bishop? Then I'm going to give you a little snippet of DM the PM. On Tuesday, the 10th of June, Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell on DM the PM was asked about the situation with the Mount Royal Prime Minister's residence.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening to the Honorable Prime Minister. I have a question, but if someone already asked it, sorry about that. I just tuned in.
Okay, go ahead.
I would like to know the present condition of the Prime Minister residence in Paltusi. Could you give us an update on that building and what is taking place there, and how soon you will be renovating or going there in the future? I'd just like to know.
Thank you.
Right, so thank you, caller, for the question. The building is carded for renovation. We are hoping that the renovation can commence this year. The team from the Ministry of Infrastructure has been working on improvements to the architectural design and to general renovation. As you may be aware, when we assumed office, the building was not livable. It appears as if it had not been lived in for quite a while, outside of the what I would call outer buildings that the security detail was using. The main building itself was not functional, and so it requires some significant work to make it functional, not just for whoever will hold the office of Prime Minister, but all of the support staff that will come with it, the security detail, housekeepers, etc. We are hoping the renovation is, at least from the architectural design, it's mostly internal changes and some additional amenities. We are hoping that the residence can be used as an official meeting place, because as it stands now, for example, if you have large visiting foreign delegations, based on the current construct of the ministerial complex, there's literally no place to house them, outside of the cabinet room, which to some extent is also a bit cumbersome because you have one significant large table in there with all the chairs around. So we are hoping that we can actually have dedicated space where if you are visiting foreign nationals, other heads of state, you can host the meetings there, both in terms of the ceremonial aspect, the working aspect, and if necessary that, a prime minister or so visiting from another country needs a room to sleep over in the night, that we can afford some basic amenities of statehood for visiting colleagues. So hopefully the work will commence, and we expect that once it commences, within 12 months, it should be complete.
That's a pay-as-you-go answer. But the building has been carded for renovation since 2022. Prime Minister, you waited 7 months for the mansion you now live in, costing the nation $20,500 a month. You waited 7 months for that building, for that house, that mansion to be renovated. You remained in your home on St. John Street. That 7 months could have been put towards Mount Royal, right? Since then, nothing was done. Now you're talking about using it to hold meetings. Using it to hold meetings, and if a member, I guess a prime minister wants to stay over, he can stay over. It's now a bed and breakfast. So if a prime minister can stay overnight, a foreigner, you're going to put in there to stay overnight, and you can host meetings there. Why can't you live there? Just what, right? And if it needs renovating, why don't you renovate it, whatever little it needs, It's obvious that you just made up that story that you wasn't expecting a question like that at all. Can we forget about it? I'm so glad some Grenadians are being aware now, right? And where in the 2025 estimates of revenue and expenditure is the estimate for that project, the renovation of the Prime Minister's residence in Mount Royal? Lest we forget, it was said that you're a prime minister of class, you're a man of class. And it was said by what we call a transformer, someone who's right up there, someone who's being paid by the government and people of Grenada. And I'll come to that right after, right? Lest we forget, he said that you cannot live there looking down on the people of River Road and Darbo. How dare we want to put our prime minister in a place where his view is River Road and Darbo?
We bring to any situation in life that we ourselves are in, who we are, our standard and quality. And if we have none, we will bring that too. We have had lots of low-class people with access to social media who feel Mount Royal is fit for a prime minister to reside in as it is. You should ask the government to let you stay there because it is vacant now. That place has for years outlived its usefulness. Has any of you who are today talking about the current Prime Minister's decision to not relocate to that Labast, overlooking Darbo, Mount Rush, River Road, Queen's Park, taken an objective look at it to see if you have a dog, that you really love, that you would allow to live there right now as it is? What obtained prior to June 23rd, 2022 may have been suited for that place. But since the commencement of transformation, it is obsolete. The entire grounds are always overgrown, as if to indicate that beasts live there. So you have to hunt for them. Ha ha ha. As we say, joke day. Anyone who knows the humble man that our current Prime Minister is, you would know that he's also classy. And his successes as a lawyer support his high standard of living and quality of life. Even though he lived on St. John's Street, a building he owns, necessity and practicality contributed to him electing to live there as a private citizen. Of course, the high quality of the internal environment made it pleasing to him and his children. He is now the Prime Minister, and for security reasons, it is not practical for him to continue to live there. That is an undisputed fact. If you have your nice environment living in all the time, for reasons that are convenient to you, but you were in a similar position to the current Prime Minister, elected to office, would you mindlessly relocate to a broth house? A house where intelligence tells you all sorts of unsavory things used to go on, and for many years? You gotta be out of your cotton-picking mind. Apart from that, when you see where this place is and what it has come to since after Sir Eric's years of living there, government should have parted ways with that location a long time now. I recall saying years ago, and only recently repeated, that no individual citizen should outclass the residences of our Governor General and our Prime Minister.
No, that individual is one amongst others who are being paid $5,000 to train our public workers. Yeah. This individual is the host of a podcast, as you see. And I need to share with you some clips, just bear with me, of this individual and different podcast shows that he carried, to show you what our money is paying for to train our public servants. And they've been training since 2022, right? Him and the others who trained, they've been training for a while now. They've been training these public servants. From my understanding, most of them don't show up to the trainings because it's not helping them. And I mean, just listening to him, but no, it gets worse. And they have somebody training them in ICT, transformer, who is with mediocre stuff that they know already, elementary stuff. They don't go to the training. So, and these people are being paid. These people are being paid, but it's job for the boys and girls. Job for the boys and the girls. Just listen to a few snippets.
We are not prepared to sacrifice anything for the greater good because we are not yet developed to the stage that we can appreciate the need for us to do without something in pursuit of something we know to be better for us. Hell, no sacrifice. We're not interested in that. Out of the desperate need for change, the majority of people who voted catapulted the old nastiness and his Drake-like crew out of office. And yet in the main, many people expect things to remain the same. We have to admit that the weekly post-cabinet briefings that this nation got accustomed to over the period 1995 to 2022, for the most part, was a whole lot of nonsense. Rubbish. The Nigerians put it even better. Rubbish. With the local media totally emasculated and rendered useless by the old nastiness, these briefings were nothing but a bloody sham. They were presided over by liars who fed the nation with contempt repeatedly. The new administration, made up of mostly younger citizens who have a duty to manifest the change we expect, delivered a major change by discontinuing these nonsense post-cabinet briefings with a commitment to deliver them as they are determined to be necessary. In other words, when they have something to announce. The Prime Minister planned a press briefing for Friday, 5th January, to release his cabinet reassignments, at which the local media was invited. Yet for all, they have a problem with them not being invited to the Papi Show swearing in by the Governor General. That is just ceremonial rubbish. Get used to it. Things have changed. I am praying that it never goes back to how it functioned in the past with all this Westminster-style mama guy Papi Show nonsense. When the revolutionaries made drastic changes and decisions, Grenada made progress. When Grenada followed the status quo, only rubbish we're seeing before us. I say change this goddamn nonsense and get on with the business of running the bloody country. I am sure after the press briefing on Friday to announce the ministerial reassignments to include the addition of Mrs. Delma Thomas to the cabinet of ministers, that the so-called media must realize that they were making much ado about nothing and manifesting how stuck in time they are. Indeed, while they volunteered to be used by sore losers to peddle nonsense, stuck in time stupidness through their misplaced noise. I tell you, the Caribbean has been run like African countries for much too goddamn long. And we have to cut that bull. Got to cut that corruption and that nastiness from all these affected Negroes whom we entrust with such authority over us and over our affairs. Isn't Grenada screaming for some measure of this committed leadership to rid the atmosphere of all the dunceness that permeated all levels of our society just because it served the interest of the old nastiness and his selfish agenda to keep the people poor, uneducated, and vulnerable so he could stay in power in perpetuity. If the transformation agenda of the Deacon Mitchell administration is to be given legs and wings to take speed and flight, a lot of people need to be replaced.
Folks, I could bring you that piece snippets. I have more. I would not waste time because this is the most views he's going to ever get from what Simon says, right? But just a little taste of what it is. This guy is training. He trains private sector too, but it doesn't bother me. But the money, our taxpayers' money, is paying this guy, right, to train amongst our, and as Uncle Tilly say, they eating. Some of them, they don't care, they're just eating away. The next thing they're going to eat is poison. They're too greedy. But they're being allowed. That's important. They're being allowed. Last update to the UK chapter. To those of you who in the UK chapter who are trying to locate your Grenada High Commission in the UK since they moved, saying they can't afford the previous location. I found the mission. It's in Holborn, Central London. A tiny business office in Holborn. They've downsized from the other building where they were, and nothing wrong with downsizing. I think it was a 3-story building, but an old building that probably wasn't as expensive as it might have looked. But downsizing is no problem, but not downsizing into nothing, really, right? And what good for the goose, good for the gander. And I'm speaking about the consulate in Dubai. I'll come back to that. So the mission in the UK have moved to this commercial building in central London. Most high commissioners' offices are in Kensington and Chelsea, in the Kensington and Chelsea area, right? And well, their surrounding areas as well. Please note that the majority of their work is done online and through telephone consultations. In other words, call before you show up because they're not there all the time. Now, in the 2024 supplemental budget, a $200,000 was allocated towards the relocation of the London mission, which was approved by the Cabinet of Grenada. Now, let me tell you what was also approved under for the mission to Dubai. Approved estimates in 2024, $832,000. Well, let me take that over. $832,196 was allocated to the mission in Dubai. The actual provisions was the same. So they used up every penny from the estimates, right? That's 2024. The estimates of 2025 is $828,282. Remember, it's 200,000 for the emission in the UK. Forwarded estimates for 2026, $831,908. Now, please note, the person at the mission in Dubai, right? Before Mr. Rahman was being paid $3,000 a month, right? $3,000 a month, and the government of Grenada did not pick up that fee. Citizens of Grenada in Dubai, and we're talking about citizens of investment, they paid the bills for the mission, for the consulate in Dubai. Now, the consular, Zia Rahman, receives a salary of 17,000. Now, this 3,000 USD I told you about it, that's amounting to just a little bit over 8,000 EC dollars that the former consular picked up for her salary and all her allowances, 8,000 EC dollars. Mr. Rahman, for his salary alone, is $17,399.88. Rent, his rent, $18,188. Almost 10,000, 9,000 plus dollars per month for children's school, for his children at school fee. Other perks, overseas allowance, 10,189 per month. Spouse allowance, $543.38 per month. Child allowance, another $180. Entertainment allowance, $543.38 per month. A total of $45,110.26 earned monthly. You hearing me now? The former counselor was getting 8,000 EC dollars per month. Mr. Zia Rahman is getting $45,110.26, his monthly earnings, right? Annually, $541,323 annually. Now, let me just say here, Consular Rahman earnings is quarter of the entire trade budget for Grenada. And that means for all the missions, consulates, embassies, whatever we have throughout the world, wherever we have them, Mr. Rahman, the consular in Dubai, his earnings is a quarter of that. Just imagine that, right? 65% of the entire Dubai budget goes to him and his family. 65%. Whatever is left is to pay rent for the office, bills, pay cleaner, transportation. Yeah, 65% goes to him and his family. In the meantime, Councillor Elwin McQuilkin is sitting in a dump in Trinidad and Tobago. Ask him. I've heard it from several Grenadians who visited. They call it a dump. And you know what's funny? The persons not knowing each other, they said the same thing basically. The same thing. Folks, we're in a bad state. We're in a bad way. And the thing is crumbling down. It's coming crumbling down. Revenues have dropped tremendously. And we're going to do a whole program. Part of the program next week, we're going to deal with that. We're going to go in depth with that. But our revenues over the past quarter compared to previous ones have dropped tremendously. But we're doing good, eh? The government doing good. Everything is in order. But you realize they could never tell us what exactly they call good, what they're speaking of when they say the administration is doing a good job. They can't tell us what it is. But numbers don't lie. And if the numbers, it dropped by $90 million. And those numbers are not coming from Jenny, you know. It's coming from the Ministry of Finance. It's coming from the Ministry of Finance. So to finish up last week's episode, remember I had to rush and I dumped some stuff and to kind of tie up. I'll continue to share with you some clips from now we're in the meat of the matter, some clips from the infamous press conference. You know how I've always said that with this administration, the line is very blurry, and we have no idea where party ends and government begins, or vice versa, right? Here, at that press conference, I had to try to figure out, by asking the question to the panelists, who was hosting the press conference? Was it the party, the NDC party, or the NDC administration? You spoke of the press conference is party, is about party?
Yeah.
Okay, so then the achievements that especially MP Tevin Andrew spoke of in Carriacou, are they achievements of the NDC party or the government of Grenada?
They are achievements of the government of Grenada, the National Democratic Congress administration.
Okay, so then we open up now. It's of the government of Grenada. So we can move there, right?
No.
Well,
No. To be quite fair, it was about. I was basically talking about the promise that we made, or the campaign promises that we.
And who fulfilled the promise?
No,
The government of Grenada, right?
Just give me 1 minute. I'm just simply saying that we have a manifesto, local manifesto, and overall manifesto, and we spoke about the things that we hope to achieve. So, in celebration of the 3 years in office, we're basically saying that we have said that we are going to accomplish X if you, the people, give us an opportunity, and here we are, reporting to you 3 years later that we have delivered.
Let's not waste time on this.
Yeah.
My question
go ahead and ask
is,
the question.
gentlemen,
Let me give
the
the answer.
achievements you spoke of, are the achievements of the NDC party or achievements of the government of Grenada?
Right. So, Sister Jenny, let me just say this. You can proceed to ask your question, and we would respond accordingly.
Right. No, the manifesto, in a manifesto is what you proposing to do as a government in office. That's what a manifesto is, not a party in office. As a government, where would the party get the funds to realize their manifesto? It's the government money, the sources, the people and the government money that they're using. When they did their manifesto, we did not know of Hurricane Beryl. There was no Hurricane Beryl. But of course, the Hurricane Beryl and the Build Back Better houses was used as an achievement, right? Building roads. Who's building the roads? Is it the government of Grenada or the NDC party? Now, what he tried to do after they made their presentation was to keep us to answering question concerning the NDC party alone. That's why he said that it is a party's press conference. But then when I zero in, they had no choice really. It was a press conference of the administration. The administration. My God, I have to call it for Uncle Tilly. Where are you? These guys need to go to training school. And these are the guys that the man was talking about just now there. In comparison to the former administration, that he called drakes. Yeah, those are the guys. Those thieves, conmen, and crooks. All they practice is nepotism, victimization, vindictiveness. Yeah. Then there is the continued misleading of the nation when it comes to the UKSIF and the GRIP programs. Minister, you speak often of the UKSIF and the GRIP, the UKSIF, the World Bank one, the Caribbean Development Bank one, and that the former administration did nothing for 6 years. And you also know that that is misleading the nation. The GRIP program, for instance, the approval came on the 17th of June 2022. That's a few days before the elections, right? The UK SIF program, it started in 2016, where the government of Grenada was already engaged in the CDP, and that is on their website right up to 2019. Right up to 2019, and then there was the COVID, and then the elections. So when you do these things and say these things, I have documents here to show.
Can I respond?
Of the website. So that is misleading.
Can I respond?
Please do.
Let's go. The UK SIF project. In 2015, the Prime Minister of England, Dave Cameron, UK, he visited Grenada. In 2016, he provided a grant for Grenada, $80 million. $10 million was to construct the Western Main Road, and $70 million was to do the UK SIF, which is the Southern Water Expansion Project. Now, the Western Main Road had problems because of the Modern landslip, so that was delayed. The UK SIF project, nothing was done. As a matter of fact, we had a meeting, myself and the Minister of Finance, with representatives from the UK in October of 2022. And it was said that because the UK were going through they were uncertain about the economic situation, they were going to pull back the grant of $80 million from us. They went ahead and took it back. Okay. 2023, we fought and we got it back. We announced when we got it back. But let's look at the timeline, because, I want to really spend some time, spend some time this morning, because I want to educate. I don't get a chance to educate much, and I want to educate now. So when we got back the grant in 2023, it took us 2 years, 23, 24, 25, 2 years. And now we are talking about implementing that same UK SIF Southern Water Expansion Project, right? Now, if you say, let's count again, if you say that 2016, you agree that we got a grant in 2016 from the UK. Now, 2022, nothing was implemented. Let's go. Now let's watch rate of implementation. We got back in 2023. And 2025, we are not looking to start to lay pipes. 2016, add 2 years to that, 2018, COVID was 2020. So I'm saying to you, Ms. Jenny Simon, respectfully, that the previous administration had all the chance to implement the project. COVID was 2020, and look at it, 2016 to 2020 is 4 years. Yeah. Hold on, I'll listen to you speak, I'll see if I can speak. So listen to me speak now. 2016 to 2020 is 4 years. 2023 to 2025 is 2 years. So we are implementing in 2 years what the previous administration could not implement in 4 years, even before COVID. I'm not counting even after COVID. Let's go again. We are speaking about the GRIP project now. Well, you asked some questions, and I want to answer your questions. I don't want to skip because you said on GBN, you said that you was cut off on GBN, and I did not answer the question on GBN. So I want to make sure that I answer your question in full.
Can I deal with
GRIP? No. You spoke about GRIP. Let's talk about GRIP. I want to answer your question. Permit me to answer your question. I don't want you to leave from me and say that Andy did not answer your question. So let's go to the GRIP project now, right? The GRIP project, yes, you had the date correct. Now, I never said that the GRIP project was under the previous administration. I said that my ministry was able to move the project. It was under the Ministry of Infrastructure. And it was moved to the Ministry of MIT. Now we are talking about implementation. Right? In October, we will be doing over the Baltazar Bridge, and also we will be tackling the coastal areas of Soubise and Marquis under the GRIP project. So to say that, it's on the, don't mislead. So, Jenny, I'm just speaking the fact.
No,
Yeah, but hold on.
Yeah,
but Sister Jenny, hold on.
Run,
Wait, no, but you have to wait. This is not a political debate. I'm saying to you, this is the National Democratic Congress press conference.
Before implementation, there are processes.
Sister Jenny, hold on.
And that is what happened.
Hold on, kindly, please.
In 16,
Sister Jenny, you have your platform. You can go and talk there.
You don't just implement.
Sister Jenny, you have your platform. You can go and speak there.
The pipes are laid.
Listen, could we cut this mic, please? Could we cut this mic?
So I have my platform, and I'm going to explain to you, because they never want me to come back. When they say what they say, I must leave it so to continue to mislead the nation. Implementation, you see the implementation he's talking about there? is that they're about to go and lay pipes. There are a whole lot of stuff, procedures and processes to take place before you get to laying pipes. But I first want to draw your attention to what he said that delayed the project. No more that the government, the previous administration didn't do anything. It's the land slippage, the Molyneux land slippage, and the UK government were not okay with their finances, right? He said they were uncertain of their financial status. So they pulled the monies and then they had to go and get it back, according to him. Now, there's something called status. On the website, the CDB website, for the same UK SIF project, right? And in November 2016, it says, and it's really small, it's really giving me trouble here. Technical assistance grant to propose capital project approved. That's in 2016. Moving along to 20, because all of these is processes, things that have to happen before you get to implementation stage. So when he said that they just come and they implementing, the only reason they could implement is because the processes, the procedures that need to happen before implementation had happened. In 2017, we have consultations engaged to prepare a feasibility design and detailed design. So the feasibility study, all of that was done in 2017, right? In 2019, it says project approved of capital project. So let's roll out everything before in this with the status. Everything is done. Everything is in order. And so let's roll out the project in 2019. 2019, COVID was here in the world. It started in different countries in the world, and there was COVID 2020, land in Grenada, 2021, all up to 2022. That's what they don't want you all to hear. So, Sister Jenny, go on your platform. They would not let me speak. But he's correct. I have my platform here, and that's why I'm going to explain to you the procedure. And now, according to them, they're ready to implement. We will keep you updated on the implementation. Well, he gave up on the other one. He had to say the grip that he agreed. I'm correct. He never gave the dates before. All he said, they met the project there and nothing was done. But when I dropped the dates on him, he didn't have a choice because I had the facts, right? I have the facts. So he couldn't deny it. And I pulled it out. I went with my facts and I pulled it out there. So when I pulled it out there, he had to agree. He had to agree, right? The misleading is all in an effort to make it look like they've accomplished something. And that's all it is. So they're misleading you to say that, oh, nothing was done and we come and we do. That is hogwash. It is not true. It is misleading the nation. Here's a clip with journalist, accredited journalist, Linda Straker.
For the three ministers, I will ask you together and you can answer individually. Have each and every one of you declare your asset to the Integrity Commission for the period as requested? And each and every one of you, do you know what is the definition for corruption in Grenada's law? And the final question to Mr. Williams, you mentioned that you use, in terms of employment rate, it was about 12% last year, and you think it might be 5 or 10 when they do it again. What did you use to come to that conclusion? Okay, what calculation you used to come to that assumption? So you have 3 questions, Mr. Williams, and the other 2 have 2.
Yeah, so let me just start by saying this. I as an individual, I'm not qualified enough to measure unemployment in our country. Yeah? I'm telling you about the figures from the Ministry of Economic Development that was given to me by the minister. And up until Monday of this week, that was the last figures that was quoted based on the unemployment rate as of 31st of December 2024. So those figures came from the Ministry of Economic Development by Minister Lennox Andrews. So you asked a question about definition for corruption according to Grenada law. Again, let me tell you this. In Grenada, the Prevention of Corruption Act defines corruption. Just 1 minute. My computer just... I want to give you the information factual. Hold on, just 1 minute. Right. Corruption as an act by a person that is inconsistent with the lawful duties and rights of others, involving the unlawful and wrongful use of their influence, office, or character to gain some gratification for themselves or another person. That's the definition. And yes, I declared my asset with the Integrity Commission. Thank you very much.
I also declared my asset to the Integrity Commission, and I think Minister Williams answered the question corruption.
Right. Yes, I declared mine, and I have some outstanding stuff to do for them. I received the letter and will honor that within the time frame that they had asked for it. I also stand by Minister Williams with his definition of corruption.
This is not his definition. This is the law definition of corruption, for your clarity. The three of you, have you done or said anything you think violated the definition of corruption in Grenada since you became part of the member of parliament and served time as a minister?
As an investigative journalist, do you think that we have done anything or said anything that may cause that?
I am not questioning. You're not questioning me. You're the one who had a misconduct. I am questioning you. I asked the question.
I stand by the comment I made earlier.
But in addition to that, Sister Shrika, just to end, we have another question? Oh, right. Yeah, just to end your round of questions. Look, politics in Grenada has been the same since the days of Uncle Gary, Comrade Morris Bishop. The only thing that has changed is the time and people's values in terms of what we pursue from a political standpoint now, the traditions, the standards. We are attempting as the National Democratic Congress to lift this. If you or any journalists have any evidence of corruption, I am not talking about rumors and hearsay. Any evidence of corruption, you can file those evidence to the relevant bodies because you know the definition of corruption. You know the bodies. You know the law. You know the law. So you don't need to ask us the question. I am saying that you, as the Fourth Estate, if you represent the Fourth Estate, you need to fulfill your duty, not by printing and publishing rumors and, you know, leading on the hearsays, but taking whatever information you have. If you say you have evidence, information, and I'm saying you, not specific to you, but those who may, bring it to the relevant bodies and file the request. I think we have a final question.
Let me just answer. Now, something that...
Mr. Redhead,
hold on, Linda. You asked a question for three of us. I did not answer. Just please give me a chance to answer. Thank you. Now, but let me just tell you what's interesting here, though, and I want to make this point here before we go along to any other point. It's because I realize that when it comes to the National Democratic Congress, and maybe because the country holds us a higher standard than any other party, right? I realize that when it comes to journalists like yourself and maybe even same Jenny, you try to drill us down to the last little rumor that you would hear, and you want an answer for it. But when it comes to the other party, you all just glance over it, and I'm saying, listen, as journalists, you all have to do better than that. You all have to hold everyone accountable, not just the NDC accountable, and all the others get a pass. So I want to make that point to you. Secondly, the second point I want to make is that the reason why sometimes I do not engage in all these little pettiness and all these back and forth and so is because we have to remember that that politics and as a party, our motto is putting people first.
So once you question them, it's pettiness. No, you're not supposed to. Right? And the only how you know And they keep talking about rumors. How would you know if it's not a rumor? You get a rumor and you go straight to the source. You ask, is this so? And for Ron to be down and talk about they what? They live the standard? Well. Ron was supposed to answer that question with a yes when it comes to corruption. Early in the game, Ron sold a car that did not belong to him. And the only how the owner of the car knew that the car was stolen and sold, because if you sell something that doesn't belong to you, it's stolen and sold, is when the individual who bought the vehicle tried to get it transferred. And Ron was dodging him. He and his advisor at the time, Ian Django Thomas. So what they did, they took the gentleman's money in the dead of the night, gave him the car, and when he was supposed to meet up with them to get it transferred, and that's what they don't like about me, no holds barred. When to get it transferred, they're ducking because they know they can't transfer it. It did not belong to them. So he dug up in the glove compartment, found the insurance for the vehicle, found the real owner's name, and got a number and called the owner. And that's when she knew her vehicle was sold. That is fraud. That is corruption. That is theft at the highest level. What happened? The money was paid for him. The prime minister called the individual to find out if what he's hearing is true. She said yes. He said, you'll have half of your money. That was a Sunday. You'll have half of your money the Monday and the rest of it by the Wednesday. Indeed, she got it, her money in cash. Indeed, like drug dealer cash money, bag of money, you come look. Right? So if that is not corruption, what is? What is? Let's move on. In an effort to put things into perspective, because I need to share some stuff with you, we're going to go back to the bribery, because the minister made it clear that the contract was signed by the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Infrastructure, which we knew, which I agree with and know of, and that the ministry, his ministry, is the Ministry of MIT, and that's where he's at. And the whole contract signing thing took place at the Ministry of Infrastructure. Let's hear. When you at the beginning of your presentation, you spoke of integrity, NDC and integrity and so on. And I know
Correct.
From being in NDC for, it would have been 28 years this year.
Really?
Come back home.
It's not too late.
A card-bearing member, somebody who pays subs and things, because a lot of people are NDC people on Facebook and so on. They don't pay no subs. They don't contribute to the NDC. This year would have made me 28 years. So I know of the core values of the NDC, and integrity is one of the core values.
Correct.
It is rumored, and you got the question the other night, you didn't answer it really, that you're involved in a bribery case with the contractor of the Cliff Road project. Switch for the contract, 100,000. I'm going to get it right. The lady did not get it right the other night. She said 150. It's 115. 100,000 in your hand and 15,000 to fix your pickup truck. Are you, sir, denying that?
Now, first of all, let me just see this, Miss Simon or Mrs. Simon.
No, it's Miss.
Well, Miss Simon, and I want to watch you in your eyes, right? Because I've heard you made these accusations on your show a number of times. And frankly, I'm not one who will run about and wasting my time to deal with these petty issues that have been rumored.
Are you calling bribery petty? Because
No,
bribery is a
give
crime.
me a chance to answer the question, please.
And I'm no, because
I gave you
said
a chance to speak.
Okay.
Give me my chance
All
to
right.
speak. Thank you, right?
I hope I'll get the time to come back.
No problem, ma'am.
Okay.
No, anything I do it with full transparency. And exactly what you're saying there, it is completely false. Okay? And I've heard you mention that a minister signing a contract. I want to educate you. In 1997, I started working by teaching. And I want to teach you something here today. A minister doesn't sign a contract. It's a permanent secretary that will sign a contract. Now, frankly, the Cliff Road was done under the Ministry of Infrastructure. My ministry is the Ministry of Mobilization, Implementation, and Transformation. So let me just go further, right? And I'm speaking to you, and I want to watch you in your eyes to speak to
And
you.
I'm watching you in yours too.
Good. Because, you know, when we enter politics, we understand that, and I've had it, people will say all sorts of things about you. And as a politician, you have to broaden your back. But Ms. Simon, when you do things like that, you know what you do to our young people? You discourage them from even wanting to get involved in politics. Because, you know, someone who wants to give back to their country meaningfully, when they hear your tone and the way how you get on with these things, they may just be discouraged. And, you know, and you're not doing a good for the country. No, the reason why I don't respond to these things is because my constituents did not elect me to take on these foolish rumors that you're making. They elected me to take care of them. And I tell you, if you look in a dictionary and you look for the word focus, you will see Andy Williams. I'm not distracted by these things, never distracted. And I say, do no evil, fear no evil. That's my motto.
Well, you've heard the clip before. You know what went down and what is being put in front so that we don't question the corruption and the fraudulent behaviors. Young people would not want to join the politics if you question them. Oh, really? So are we saying that we must just turn a blind eye and don't question the politicians on their wrongdoings because we want to encourage young people? What we should be doing is be role models, try to be role models for these young people. And not one of these young persons within, and some of the older ones too, within the NDC, this NDC administration can be looked upon as a role model for the young people of this country. Not one. Is sex, lies, and videotapes? Is theft? Is fraud? It's a get-rich-quick scheme? Is ignoring the laws of Grenada? The nepotism? In all cases, is breaking the laws. When acts and different legislation says you or no one in your family are allowed benefits of the government of Grenada, you can't get jobs, you can't get loans from the Grenada Development Bank. All of it is broken by this administration. So we can't afford to allow our young people to think that that's okay, Mr. Williams. Taking a bribe is a crime. And we're not going to let our young people believe that that's okay. You could preach Paul. You could go back to your constituency 10 times and try to ignore it. But it's there. And I'm going to continue to speak on it. In my mind, what should be most important to you, Minister Williams, is to be a role model. You yourself said it on national TV to the world because we're dealing with the World Wide Web. that you should have been in jail. Okay, people do change. But you have not changed, Mr. Williams. You need to go into bushery. You have not changed. It is sad. You need help. And they should get you it. You see how they send around to school, back to school, they should get some kind of help for you psychologically. Yeah, you need help. Because you were lying, you're pathological, really. You see? And that is the problem. That is the problem. The more they turn a blind eye to the fraud, and you see that's why it was festering all along, right? The fraudulent behavior, it's the corruption. I am not going to do it. I am going to expose each and every one of you, each and every time it happened. I will. You are a poor example of a specimen and should be removed from the office, the cabinet, and the parliament of Grenada. There are laws that says so, that you, among other members, should not be sitting in the cabinet and the parliament of Grenada. You should not have even been nominated as candidate for the South according to the laws and legislation of this country. Question, Andy Williams. Who was the Minister of Infrastructure when that contract for the Cliff Road was signed? Who was the minister? You could call yourself acting, but I want to know who was acting as minister. Let me use acting of infrastructure then. You were. So when you go to my ministry is MIT, all the monies you collecting for the housing projects, are you the minister of housing? No, but millions are put in your hands, and we can't see the houses for these millions. You are counting that 40 million was spent for 2025 alone. You said it yourself. I heard it's 42, but let's go with your figure, right? Where are the houses? But you're not the minister of housing. You're not in the housing authority. So when you talk about you're not the minister of infrastructure, BS, BS. The prime minister, we all know, was in the clouds when all of this went down. And Andy Williams was acting prime minister and acting minister of infrastructure. You know, I have to keep saying it so people could understand. You was acting minister of infrastructure. And so you signed off on the contract. And yes, behind the prime minister's back, because his back was in the clouds. You signed off on it. You also took the bribe of $115,000 in cash and kind from Nelson Louison of CCCI. Not a word from Mr. Louison. Why? As he tells somebody, he know where I get the information, he know who gave me the information. He know the information is true, and he know who gave me, and he know who gave it to me. Talk is sticking. So in the clip, you denied the bribery. And no one expected, I didn't expect you to say yes, you know that, right? Nobody expect you to come there and say, yes, I took a bribe of $150,000. You're a teacher. I am glad you're not a teacher anymore. You can barely pronounce a word properly and string two sentences together. You want to teach me? But you could teach somebody something. That's okay. But you're not teaching me anything, sir. You're not teaching me one thing. You know, you remind me, and it it was funny because I was there and I'm saying, I know this thing is reminding me. And I believe I lived in the US at the time. The Bill Clinton saga. Some of you may not know what I'm talking about, but I'll introduce it to you. There are those of you who remembers the Bill Clinton saga, when he was accused of having a sexual relationship with Monica Lewinsky, an intern at the White House.
The president had been silent 3 days. His lawyers wanted it that way. But the political damage was rising much too fast. Today, drawn and bleary-eyed, Mr. Clinton joined the battle to save his presidency.
But I want to say one thing to the American people. I want you to listen to me. I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. I never told anybody to lie, not a single time, never. These allegations are false, and I need to go back to work for the American people. Thank you.
He turned his back on questions as the First Lady followed, applauding.
You see, that also made me smile. I want to go back to the American people to do my work, to do my job. I did not have any sexual relationship with that woman, with Monica Lewinsky, right? And he said it over and over many times. In this interview here with this journalist, an American journalist, a novelist, screenwriter, and playwright, Jim.
Mr. President, welcome.
Thank you, Jim.
The news of this day is that Kenneth Starr, the independent counsel, is investigating allegations that you suborned perjury by encouraging a 24-year-old woman, former White House intern, to lie under oath in a civil deposition about her having had an affair with you. Mr. President, is that true?
That is not true. That is not true. I did not ask anyone to tell anything other than the truth. There is no improper relationship, and I intend to cooperate with this inquiry. But that is not true.
No improper relationship. Define what you mean by that.
Well, I think you know what it means. It means that there is not a sexual relationship, an improper sexual relationship, or any other kind of improper relationship.
You had no sexual relationship with this young woman.
There is not a sexual relationship. That is accurate. We are doing our best to cooperate here, but we don't know much yet. And that's all I can say now. What I'm trying to do is to contain my natural impulses and get back to work. I think it's important that we cooperate. I will cooperate, but I want to focus on the work at hand.
Just for the record, to make sure I understand what your answer means, so there's no ambiguity about it.
There is no.
All right. You had no conversations with this young woman, Monica Lewinsky, about her testimony, or possible testimony, before in giving a deposition?
I did not urge anyone to say anything that was untrue. I did not urge anyone to say anything was untrue. That's my statement to you.
Did you talk to her about it?
Beyond that, I think it's very important that we let the investigation take its course. But I want you to know that that is my clear position. I didn't ask anyone to go in there and say something that's not true.
What about you're having to add, another one of the allegations is that that you may have asked, or the allegation that's been investigated is that you asked your friend Vernon Jordan
to do that.
To do that.
I absolutely did not do that. I can tell you, I did not do that. I did not do that. He is in no way involved in trying to get anybody to say anything that's not true at my request. I didn't do that. Now, I don't know what else to tell you. I don't even know. All I know is what I have read here. But I'm going to cooperate. I didn't ask anybody not to tell the truth. There is no improper relationship. The allegations I have read are not true. I do not know what the basis of them is other than just what you know. We'll just have to wait and see. And I will be vigorous about it. But I have got to get back to the work of the country. I was up past midnight with Prime Minister Netanyahu last night. I've got Mr. Arafat coming in. We've got action all over the world and a State of the Union to do. I'll do my best to cooperate with this, just as I have through every other issue that's come up over the last several years. But I have got to get back to work.
Would you acknowledge, though, Mr. President, this is very serious business, this charge against you that's been made?
And I will cooperate in the inquiry of it.
What's going on? If it's not true, that means somebody made this up. Is that?
Look, you know as much about this as I do right now. We'll just have to look into it and cooperate, and we'll see. But meanwhile, I've got to go on with the work of the country. I got hired to help the rest of the American people.
Jim Laurier, or James Charles Laurier, an American journalist, novelist, screenwriter, playwright. He was the executive editor and the news anchor for the PBS News, May 19th, 1934 to January 23, 2020. Guess what? This more than accredited journalist interviewed the President of America on accusations that he had an affair, a sexual relationship with his intern, Monica Lewinsky. Yeah, the accredited journalists say I have no right going to a press conference with allegations and accusations. But I don't know where you're supposed to go with. All of them full up. Responding to the encounter between Andy Williams and myself at the press conference, this is what so-called accredited and investigative journalist George Worm had to say, and I quote, "This is what happens when someone goes to a press conference unprepared and asking questions based on rumors and not facts." I thought you went to the press conference, you'd go to the press conference to try and get some facts if you don't have it, right? A shame for people like George Worm and the likes. The one who said she walked out when I was about to speak, hold the mic, because I'm not a journalist. You're not sitting down and listen to me ask the questions. Come there playing ring a roses with them boys, showing thing on phone. You know, they see these two houses, and you're accredited journalist and grinning, playing, literally playing with them. But you're accredited, and I'm a hairdresser. I know I'm a cosmetologist, to be exact. Yes, but I did this for the NDC for 5 years straight. And I went into the studio to do it at the VFM studio. And by the way, I never got paid there either. Never got paid. They never even give me money for gas because I had to drive there. Today I'm sitting in a corner in my living room. I'm not getting paid. I don't even know about monetizing. If it monetizes, if you get money, I don't even know nothing about that. I'm sitting in the corner of my living room. And to get from what I question it since I hear it flinging about, we're not making enough views. You have to get thousands and hundreds of thousands of views to be monetized. I get more views than all of them here, I know that for a fact. But I'm still not there to get money. So trying to make it sound like I sit down here thinking, and if you listen to her, is money she making? A poor excuse. But as I say, a drowning man will grab at a straw going down because it's called survival. It's called survival. Now, what is similar and interesting about the Bill Clinton case? He denied the fact, and as long as he spoke of it's getting back to work. I have to get back to work. Was it a copycat scene? I don't know, but it's too familiar, it's too similar, if you ask me. It's too similar. Now, similar. Now, let's listen to Bill Clinton.
It took 7 more months for the other shoe to drop, and the Daily News ran the story with the caption, "Liar, liar." After President Clinton admitted to having an inappropriate relationship with Monica Lewinsky, the president was impeached by the House, but then acquitted by the United States Senate.
I rest my case. I rest my case on this for now. The whole, yes, I did it, no, I didn't do it, the whole story. But make sure you believe when I tell you, I'm going to speak about it every week. I'm going to talk about it, whether I just ask a question in the back, but I'm going to speak about it every week. You can rest assured that we'll talk about the bribery every week. Now about the bus tour, TOE. And he wanted to teach me, and I hear him talking during, you'll hear him, about the dough. There wasn't a dough here, and we cut a dough here, an achievement. They cut a dough. Was it a door? You can't teach me. Don't even try it. Anyway, about the bus tour, let's hear from the MP representing the Great South on what this bus tour was all about.
In these 3 years, we've been in overdrive, working tirelessly, both at the national level and the constituency level. Nationally, here's what we have done so far. We stabilized and grew the economy, even in the face of global uncertainty. We championed workers' rights and are building a fair and secure future for all. We reduced costs and improved access to education. And we are seeing in Nulo and Tansisi, for example, increase in students enrolling in those institutions. We've invested in the creative economy and began to unleash Grenada's immense talent. We restored Grenada's global image, forging stronger relationships and attracting new partnerships, for example, Africa and so. But transformation doesn't happen in a capital. It starts in the communities. Across all 15 constituencies, we have been improving road and infrastructure, upgrading housing and living conditions, building community centers, offering training and skills program, reviving community spirit through sports and culture. These are the stories that move the most, the ones where people's lives are touched directly. We recognize, though, that sometimes Mary in village A doesn't know what is happening in village B, or John in village C doesn't know what's happening in village D. And in the same constituency, people may be unaware of the work taking place. So today, I'm proud to announce a new initiative that puts people in the driver's seat of accountability and awareness. We call it the People's Check-in. This is a series of constituency bus tours. The citizens will be taken across their constituencies and communities to see, inspect, and experience the progress for themselves. We begin this journey in the Great South, and we will roll it out across every constituency. Sometimes we, as MP, as caretakers, we do things in our community, and we may see it, we may post it on social media, or you may see it on news, but the people themselves do not get a chance to physically experience those projects and programs. And this series of bus tours will be aimed at just that, so that you can see the work that we are doing in their constituency and you can appreciate it. But this is not just a tour. It's a chance for reflection, accountability, and connection. It's about bringing the people along the journey they voted for.
You're correct. It's not a tour, it's a tour. And I have to start to speak properly, because if some people listening, depending on the part of the world, they'd wonder what the hell language we speak. So It's a bus tour, right? Chat GPT. Nicely laid out, nicely laid out. So that's where we are now. We're carrying people. We have to literally carry people to see our achievements. But who we singing to? The choir, right? Because if your achievement cannot be seen with the naked eyes, we need binoculars to see bus loads, to see children, anybody who wanted to come on, to see. A couple of coasters, a few small buses, 4 tuk-tuks, eat dinner, food, and a few private vehicles. They left off Wall Street and went to Dusty Highway, where the old police building there, where you used to go do your written exams and do your sticks, your driver's tests. That building is being renovated, as Minister said, to put the South Medical Station and a fire tender, right? So they went straight to that site. Let's see the clips.
Oh, check it out. Good morning to everyone. Good morning. Grenada, Carriacou, and Martinique. So we just on our journey. We just started the journey. Yeah, turn right. Just starting the journey for our constituency tour. Going around the whole south to see the wonderful work that we have been doing in the constituency. If you can see, we have, yeah man, on buses, we have about 5 buses, 2 posters and 2 ordinary buses. We have about maybe 6 or 8 vehicles with us. We have 4 of the tuk-tuk. I'm in one right now, the ice green and gold. Yeah. We have our entourage with us. And our first stop will be the Grenada License Center building. We have been doing some work on that building for the last few months. And, you know, if you look back, it was a building where it was really dilapidated. And I'm swing right. Yeah. So I'm driving with that guy. He's not from town, he's from the country area. Trying to tell him where to go. The miners. So that building was really dilapidated. After Ivan, you know, talking about the galvanized and things, it was just bad. They had like a whole garbage sheet, whole engine, whole iron, all this and all that. Since then, we have been doing some work on it with the roof and everything. And also, that's where the police have their license center. That's where they teach people to, like where they're going to put the license and so. So we're stopping along this road. Oh. Yeah, just a little water. I know you can stop in the yard, swing right and stop in the yard. The yard? Yeah. Okay. Swing right and yeah, and stop inside the yard. Yeah. Right. So you can just stop going down. Yeah. Yeah. So guys, we're here at the license center. Right, you can just go right down, so at least all of the people park behind you. Yeah. Right, I'll leave him a charger here and then. Right. So yeah, guys, I'll get back to you. Let me just show you. Korean guys, they said that there's an NDC tuk-tuk, yellow. Korean guys here. We have another tuk-tuk again. Yes, Chief. Hello. We have another tuk-tuk coming again. Hi! Alright. We have one coaster. What's it now? Hey, Josh, you good?
Come on, you take my spot so I come to ride.
Now, we stay long.
No problem, I'm joking, man.
Right, oh, the bigger buses? Yeah, so we move gather here when you have your seat. Oh, okay. So, yeah, the bigger buses can stay by the side? Yeah. We have another coaster here again. We have Mr. Earl Brother Nash, this is Brother Nash. This is the chair of the South St. George constituency branch, Brother Nash. And all of the stalwarts. Cool. Right. Okay. All right, so let me just assemble for 1 minute.
Sorry.
See it? All right. Okay, so folks, good morning again. We are at the Grenada License Center. Let me give you a little history on this building. This building was constructed since the 1980s during the revolution time. In 2004, it got hit by Hurricane Ivan. The roof got damaged, and that's where the police guard used to be. In December last year, the police had checked us to help them with some work on the building up there. But when we came and we saw the condition of this building, it had all kind of old engine, old iron, rats, all kind of things. We thought that it was necessary for us to, not just help them with the front, but also help to revitalize this building and refurbish this building. So the first thing we had to do was to get the trucks and so to take out all the garbage from there. It took a while. And for that, we thought it was necessary to not just to clean it out, but to retrofit it. So what we started to do, we started to put these things up here. That's for the ceiling. So we're going to put some ceiling tiles here. Also the ground. We are going to tile the ground also. So in the section behind you, not directly behind you, but the other section, we started to do some, to cast the floor, so that we can put the tiles on it. This section here that you're watching, we are going to do some cast the floor again to do some tiles. Also, up to the front, we'll do a tour of it, but up to the front, the idea is to construct this so that we can put a fire tender and a stalwart.
Now, for the Minister of Implementation, and I'm going to say this at the beginning because I saw the entire thing. Nothing that was shown was completed. And I could understand why you had to take people to these things, because if that's your achievements in the South, and that's why I keep asking, when I hear people say, oh, and they're doing so much, and they're doing so much in the South, and I keep asking, can you point me to what it is he's done? And then they freeze, because the police building that you start and not finish, and then he showed that, I cut the clip because we got to go, we have time, and we have things to continue. He said they cut a door here, we cut a door here. There was never a door here, so we cut a door here. That's an achievement. You put a door in an area that never had a door, and that's an achievement. Huh? Then they moved on from there, and I'm sorry, but I wouldn't be able to show you much more of this thing with just him talking and everything. So they moved from Dusty Highway. Promise made, promise, I don't know if it was a promise made, but promise half kept, I don't know. But it's a big achievement. It's a big achievement. They moved to the True Blue Road project. A few weeks shy of a year. Remember, that was in July, around the time of Hurricane Beryl, when we were supposed to host the Heads of Government. By the way, the CARICOM roundabout, oh my God, please cut down the banana trees. The neck break with the banana hanging and they all straggly. Please remove that from there. It's an eyesore. The whole roundabout is an eyesore. But you're only going to move the wooden things. I'm sure it costs a lot of money to do. So you can leave the wooden things still, but the fig trees, cut them down. Take them down and groom the grounds, So it was around that time. And it's quickly, in the rain, day and night, the same minister was on the road with the workmen, the same company, CI, fixing the road in rain, in the dead of the night so that the heads of government can ride on smooth roads in Chublu, because the main meetings were held down at the university. So since then, the road must have been dug up half a dozen times, if not more, because it's not setting, it's not fixing. The contractor said one time is because they just had to spread the hot mix over. They didn't dig up, and so that's what causing it. And the drama. You know your work, you have to do your work. And that's what made the Prime Minister even more vexed. He spoke of those two projects, the Cliff projects and the Chublu project, and they need to be over and done with. So he took them to see that project, the Chublu Road project. Another achievement, right? Unfinished, over a year now, and a road project. Remember the concrete government that went before? Okay. So that is the project that the young man lost his life when a heavy equipment crushed him to death that he was trying to operate. Now, that equipment was in police custody because it was unlicensed and uninsured. It ended up back on the road to the contractor who owned it, still unlicensed and uninsured, when it killed a young man. And I asked the question several times on who gave the authorization? Who authorized the release of that heavy equipment? I still await the answer. I would like to know if the family got compensated for the son, but he's dead. He's dead and gone because someone authorized the release of an equipment that was uninsured and unlicensed. Right. So then, from the Chublu project, they moved to Guankai. But you know, Guankai get road, and Guankai is supposed to be getting water. I mean, more water, should I say, because they have water there. He brought them to see maybe the road, but more importantly, the space, the area where this huge water tank is supposed to go, all connected to the UKSIF project, and water is supposed to come directly from, and listen to me carefully, and in his words, directly from the Concord waterfalls, the Concord area, to Guankai, to that water tank. The tank's not there, but he showed them the space where the tank would go. Another achievement. Here's a space where the water tank will go. From Guankai, the road project, from Woodlands, the rum factory, through to Golf Course. Road still under construction. Another road project. So Chublu Road, Guankai Road, and that road, Woodlands through to Golf Course. Another unfinished project, but to see the road being built there. Then they drove to Spring School, my friends. Spring School, to show the school was newly fenced. They were at the field, and the teachers, or maybe the principal, I'm not sure, somebody connected to the school or bodies, said that they needed a fence. So he fenced the school. Didn't have a gate yet, but he fenced it. And he brought the bus tow. That would be the tow he's showing that, not the tow. He brought the bus tow to see the fence, right? And all it, he do a lot for the South. And this is what our money. Well, let me ask, who paid for the bus tow? I would like to know who paid for the bus tow. So they went from the fence, they moved the project to Fort George. So we out of constituency now. We're in the town of St. George, which neither the town of St. George nor the south of St. George should claim that project. It's a capital project. It's a national project. It doesn't belong to the south or to the town of St. George. But if town want to claim it, then that's okay, because it's in the town. Now the bus tour was supposed to take people to see the south, right? But we end up in town anyway. The achievements of the south, but we in town and we saw the construction of, it's not yet finished either. Since 2023, it was 86% done. And that was praised, he got praise in the, or that would have been in 2022, in the budget reading of the Prime Minister in 2023, the 2023 budget. Oh, still there, not finished. So they went to the fort. Next stop, Project Polaris area. The bushes where Project Polaris will be, if at all. And I've heard Calavini, then we heard Good Hope, is not not Good Hope, the other one, Hopevale. And I'm told that the project is really supposed to be in West Hall, in St. David's. So when they explained to me where it is, that is West Hall, because it's beyond the sign that says "Welcome to West Hall." Anyways, it don't matter where it might be, because that's a might all for now. But yeah, so he took them to see the spot. But to get to Project Polaris spot and the road from the Woodlands area to the golf course, in the middle between that is the Cliff Road project. He referred to Cliff Road project. Stay clear from the Cliff Road project. Didn't show the Cliff Road project, which is a project in the south. Past it, referred that one. Because if the Cliff Road project come up, once you hear Cliff Road, you hear bribe. So he's staying away from that, clear from the Cliff Road project. Not his project, is the Ministry of Infrastructure project, right? And folks, there you have it. That's the bus tour. That's where the bus tour happened. Now, while Andy is playing around with buses, posters, and small buses and tuk-tuks, and there are school children on that very day, a public holiday, going to do their exams, who had to walk miles in some cases to go do their exams. And I'm not condemning NDC for the kids having to walk, because this is something I did it, and people before me did it. I know my older sisters did it, right? And it's been done. But if you can play around with buses to go and show people half-done roads and half-done buildings and bushes, then you and your government can pay buses to take the school children to do their exams. And they're putting people first. Love to see putting people first.
And what really concerns me, I'm looking every day, is that I'm seeing no effort is being made, no talks, nothing is like we are ignoring that fact. And no measures are being put in place to fight inflation, to fight the high cost of living. No measure at all. All we are seeing is a set of roads being built that was supposed to be constructed or worked on months and years ago. We are seeing roads being built, and I'm saying to myself, boy, can we eat road? Can the single mother who doesn't have a job, can she eat road? You understand? Can the person who is struggling every day, struggling to make ends meet, and now prices are going higher and higher, can they eat road?
While the minister of MIT is showing roads, it was so obvious that he didn't show one house, not one of the houses he built in the south of the area, in the south area, not one. And while all of this is happening, there's a lady in River Sally St. Patrick, Miss Glenda Roma Ari. literally boiling down the place. Because since Hurricane Beryl, she has no home. The story comes from Glenda Harry herself. Told me, yours truly, Miss Harry said she had a fairly sizable 2-bedroom home before Hurricane Beryl. She did renovations on her home, slowly converting it from wooden to concrete to wall. According to Miss Harry, three quarters of her home was in concrete, her kitchen, bath, toilet, and she was moving on to some parts of the bedroom. Hurricane Beryl came and went with her roof, and she had a couple windows broken and destroyed. She called the Ministry of MIT for help, and they showed up and promised to help her. Even sent a contractor from St. George's to look at the roof, the damage, and to assess it. However, there was some sort of disagreement between the contractor and the Ministry of MIT, and he never came back. The contractor, though, had assessed the place, looked at it, said, okay, they'll put back the roof and take it from there. The MIT, then MIT said, well, as I said, the contractor disappeared. MIT came back, they said that they cannot work with the structure she had and that they had to build from scratch. Therefore, they had to bulldoze the structure and build her a new home. She agreed, although it was one of those Build Back Better houses, all wooden, and a 2-bedroom, much smaller than what she had. She agreed because she needed somewhere, a roof over her head. And she agreed. She was willing to have, and she had to sign to have what she did bulldozed and to get a new home. Nothing happened from October 2024 to now. Nothing happened, although they promised her she'll have a home for Christmas. That's Christmas 2024. Today, we are a few weeks shy away from the hurricane season. Christmas gone, burial anniversary almost here, and she's still without a home. She's renting somewhere from someone who gave her, thinking it was going to be very temporary. The person is ready for their home now. They've been away and they're ready for their home, and she's still there. She and her family, a partner and her son, and she has nowhere to go, and she's just resort to bawling, literally, because she has nowhere to go. She has no home. They bulldozed her home, and she's been calling different times. She has not been getting through. Miss Bassessa is who she's been dealing with. And every time she called before, they would answer and say, yes, yes, we understand, Miss Harry. We're going to be, and nothing happened. To now, Miss Harry is there. She's calling for help. She's calling for help, and she's calling for a voice. And that's how I came to get the story from Miss Harry, because she said she just needs somebody to speak out there as to what is happening to her. Miss Harry is now there. She has to leave where she's at because the owner, as I said, wants their place, and she has nowhere to go. In the meantime, and I've been told that before, not only in St. Patrick's, people who never had a house, people who didn't lose a house in Berry are now getting houses. Mother and son, sisters, they are getting homes. And people who are homeless are not getting homes just because it is perceived that they do not support the NDC. But what can we say? The Prime Minister did say, show us who you are. So you get, and the other side would not get. He told us that, right? He said it for the world to hear. He said it for the world to hear, right? Crazy stuff going on out there. The putting people first slogan, of course, it's towards the small percentage at the top. Those are the people that are being put first. The family and friends of the politicians and the technocrats. They are the ones that are being put first. You see, it's all about ticking boxes. They are all over the place, unfinished projects, roads, bridges, even projects that were in the pipeline, that they met in the pipeline, like the St. John's River. That St. John's River mitigation project. It's hurricane season again. That River Road project. We are entering into the fourth hurricane season since the Deacon Mitchell-led administration is in office. And not a stone was thrown when it comes to that project, right? Just how they met it, just so it is. And heavy rains are about to come. Well, it's have started. Flash floods continue to affect the area, the stadium, the poor schools, the Wesley College and the Wesley Hall Primary School. They're suffering in the back there. And not a stone. The school feeding program, it's abandoned, really. Most schools have sent out notice to tell parents, basically send your kids with food. And the ones that pretend they're still giving, it's amazing what they're giving the children. When you hear the stories of what is being given, schools need furniture. Children are crouching up on sharing chairs. Right there in St. David's, the Wester Hall Secondary School. Of course, we know the roads in True Blue, still not finished. The people in Clark's Court Bay, they ask how come the bus tow didn't pass there. They started the road and big thing in the news. I thought the Clark's Court Bay Road was finished. It's not. And actually the worst parts of it are undone. They ask how they get left out of the bus tow, the people in Clark's Court Bay. The Cliff Road project. Well, first, it started and it was supposed to be, I think it was April 2024, it was supposed to be an 8-month project. Then with the remodeling, because they're doing 2 roundabouts and so, they had to go back to the drawing board. And the average timeline was 14 months, which should have ended right around now, actually, in 2025. And then we were told by Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell and the Minister of Infrastructure, work will conclude in December of 2025. Now we are being told March 2026. Interestingly, the bus tow did not visit that project either. Andy Williams spent approximately $102 million plus in housing throughout Grenada, apparently. But we have nothing. Well, I shouldn't say we have nothing. We can't see the houses. No one could tell us how many was built. They're flinging figures out there, and we know it's lies. So what we would like is accountability for the monies spent, the monies given to the Ministry of MIT to be continued. That's a wrap on today's episode of Simon Says. It's always a pleasure conversing with you, keeping them honest. Thank you for viewing another episode of Simon Says, where facts come first. I'm your host, Jenny Simon. See you next week, same time, same place. Bye now. Thank you for tuning in to Simon Says. To ensure that you never miss an episode, click subscribe and make sure to turn on the notifications by clicking on the notification bell icon. See you at the next episode.